Good morning and welcome to the Border Chronicle weekly roundup, where we recap the work that we've done this week at the Border Chronicle. And I'm here with our arts and culture reporter, Caroline Tracy in Tucson. Hey, Caroline,
Oh,
thanks for joining us for
hey,
the
how are you?
roundup. Yeah, so we're doing it early today.
But good for people on the East Coast, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm so glad that you could join and talk about the really, amazing piece that you did, which published on Thursday, and it's called "How Do You Live in a Disabled Ecology?" And, as one, reader wrote in the comments section, this is perfect time, and especially as these big tech companies are pushing these data centers on the borderlands right now. And there's just so much happening with the environment and these pressures on our environment. And so this is an art exhibit at the Tucson Museum of Contemporary Art that you wrote about, and I guess it'll be there for a number of months. So what inspired you to write this piece about this exhibit, and if you could talk a bit about the exhibit.
Yeah, I was interested in writing about the TCE archive, which is part of the exhibit, even before I knew there was going to be an exhibit about it, and it just was a perfect timing that there's this major public installation on view. Basically, for many years, the aircraft companies that were operating in Tucson, that continue to operate in Tucson as Raytheon, dumped into the aquifer a substance called TCE, and it was used to degrease aircraft. It was a chemical that was very, very good at getting oil off of aircraft so that you wouldn't have an explosion in the middle of a flight or something like that, and also cleaning the parts when you were fabricating them. And it was going directly into the wells that people on the south side of Tucson were drinking.
Mm.
And so last year, an artist and scholar named Sonora Taylor wrote or published a book called Disabled Ecologies Lessons from a Wounded Desert. And the exhibit that is on view at the Tucson Museum of Contemporary Art right now is the work of both Taylor and of artists and activists in Tucson, to kind of bring that history to life, bring Sonora's art and research to life, bring the archival work and the investigative journalism work that folks in Tucson did over the course of decades and continue to do. The TCE archive is part of the Mexican American Heritage. Sorry, I'm getting the exact name wrong. Mexican American Heritage Museum here in Tucson. Um, but that it's kind of an amazing show, I thought, because it it brings this archive to life, it brings a history to life, but it does so through art in a way that I think is really easy for people to connect with. It's really striking when you go to see and you understand a lot better the dynamics at play.
Yeah, and so how long will this exhibit be showing in Tucson?
7 months, I believe, through next May. So there's a lot of
Okay.
time, yeah, for people in Tucson or beyond Tucson to check it out.
Yes, I just saw a reader say that her daughter lives in Tucson, so if you're coming to visit your daughter, you could go to this exhibit.
Yeah.
And I just think it's so important to acknowledge the history, right, of all of this work that has gone into social justice, uh, cleaning up the environment, which is, these military bases. I know I did some study on one in San Antonio with a similar, TCE problem that had been poured into the groundwater and, with higher health risks for everybody living around those facilities.
When it is
Um
a concern right now, I'm gonna cover, soon in the Border Chronicle, the changes to the Clean Water Act and the way that they're affecting, specifically border states where we have a lot of ephemeral waterways that aren't covered by the Clean Water Act anymore. They're not considered waters of the United States if they don't run all year round, and that obviously in an arid state like Arizona or similar New Mexico, I think actually had the highest proportion of ephemeral waterways in the country, and West Texas. That's a big concern for states specifically, because something like this could happen again, that TCE could be dumped into a wash that's
Yeah.
really dry, and then suddenly, a monsoon comes and washes it all into the drinking water. That's, suddenly a new concern again.
Yeah, so you're talking about washes, arroyos. Um, this is a rollback under the Trump administration to these protections?
Yeah, so this is I'm gonna cover this soon in the Border Chronicle, so everyone will be able to read about it soon. But yeah, since the Sackett versus EPA decision, well, there have been two Sackett decisions.
Wow.
The rules about dry rivers or washes, arroyos, ephemeral waterways have been changing.
Yeah, wow. Also, we did something a little different this week. I, made a video podcast because now people are into watching podcasts, so we were like, "Well, let's try it." We like to try things here at the Border Chronicle, and, Jonathan Blitzer, who's a staff writer for The New Yorker, he covers Latin America, immigration, politics, very kindly came on the, video podcast with me, and we had a discussion about a recent piece that he wrote about the reasons behind these illegal strikes on boats in the Caribbean and the Eastern Pacific. And I mean, it's pretty shocking because the administration is shooting these boats out of the water, killing everybody on these boats, and, without any due process or without any evidence of who exactly the people are on these boats who they're killing. They're saying that they are, drug smugglers, but we have no real evidence, and even if they were drug smugglers, there's a due process, right? There's a, you know, investigation and a trial and all of that should happen. You don't just, shoot somebody out of the sky and kill them. And, you'll be shocked, Caroline, as to who is behind pushing for these illegal boat strikes.
Tell
Guess. You're supposed to guess.
Oh, I'm supposed to guess? I was like,
Yeah.
tell me.
Yeah, yeah.
Who is behind pushing for them? You mean, like, besides, Trump, or
Yeah.
gosh. Uh, I heard that actually Davis Monathan here in Tucson is where the head of Southcom for the Air Force is, so that some
Oh,
they're connected to Tucson in some way, but I don't know, tell me.
well, Stephen Miller.
Oh.
Stephen Miller, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, the mass deportation advisor to Trump and all around, yeah, terrible person. He and Secretary of State, Marco Rubio are pushing for these, illegal boat strikes, and Miller's interest, according to Blitzer's piece that he did for The New Yorker and the sources that he's talked to, which include former Trump, administration officials, is that he likes it because it expands Trump's dictatorial powers and this notion that, he can do whatever he wants without Congress, without due process, without evidence, that if he says, we're gonna shoot these people, then they can do it. So it's this unfettered use of force. And also, it's really what the piece was saying is it's really for domestic audiences. It's to normalize this idea that he can do whatever he wants, and it's also the militarization of domestic policy because, of course, they're doing this at the same time that they're deploying troops into U.S. cities and occupying U.S. cities. Um,
And also contemplating military action into Mexico against cartels.
right.
So, yeah, the idea that it's normalizing that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, yeah. So I thought that was really interesting. So we had a very interesting conversation, and we talked a lot too about how a lot of the authoritarian, uh, the practicing for these kinds of authoritarian policies happens in the border region. With troops and different federal agencies being deployed to border communities for many years now, and being able to act with impunity. Because he was saying, "Oh, I'm I'm writing about how in Chicago now, ICE is getting into these high-speed chases and causing fatal accidents, and I was like, "Yeah." I mean, that's been happening at the border for a long time, where Border Patrol will just get into a high-speed chase with somebody, end up hitting just a car in the intersection and then killing a bunch of people, and, just acting with impunity. So it's just an extension of what they've been doing in the borderlands now for years. So that was really interesting. Yeah, so I encourage folks to, really check out Caroline's piece, which is really, really great. And also, if you want to watch our podcast, or you could just listen to it if you don't want to watch us talking. They're both there on theborderchronicle.com. And also, I'll be publishing our Friday Roundup just shortly after this live video with other important news from across the border region. So we'll have links to that news. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. And have a good weekend. And thank you, Caroline.
Thank you for having me. Bye, everyone.
All right, bye. See you.